You're listening to Some Roses Are Red, presented by 79.7. Hey, thanks for joining us again in the in-home studio. With me today are Joe'Mar and Tai. You guys can say hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey. So Joe'Mar and Tai, like I said with Daryl the last time, I've known Joe'Mar since probably the 4th grade, so just a little bit shorter than I've known Daryl, but that's over 30 years coming up. It's just about 30 years. Quick math. 2 plus 2 is 4. So the reason why I had people on here is because, like I said before, with Daryl and with Vibrancy and with everyone else that I had on the program, I have people on the program that I vibe with, people that have good energy, people that are on a similar wavelength, people that are positive people, and who can, most importantly, share an opinion without resulting to violence or name callery. You can use that one, name callery. So we can have a civil discussion about many topics, and like I said about any of the other guests on the show, these people will probably be back because I'll invite them many times, because even though we have a succinct topic today, it's so many things that I could ask these people about that I know that they would have a good position on. So that's why I invite the people on the show, and more specifically, just wanted to give a not a bio. I don't like bios. It's not a bio because it's not formal like that. But the other reason why I wanted to have Joe'Mar and Tai on the show was for Joe'Mar, and I wrote down here a couple blurbs of why would I want to have Joe'Mar and Tai on the program. And I said one of the things I wanted to talk to Joe'Mar about specifically, in the realm of all the other things, was I knew that he had many years in the public and government sector, and I knew he had a desire to see real change in the city that he works in and lives in, and he has a very strong belief that to be an effective change agent, you must begin that change within yourself. And I said, well, I can vibe with that 200%. And for Tai, who I've known a couple years, not as long as Joe'Mar, but I've known since early 2000s probably, Tai, on her, I think it was November 29th of 2018, she had on her Facebook page that she adopted a new mantra that is progress, not perfection. And I said I could vibe with that. That's pretty dope. And with Tai, she has a weekly exercise in breaking out of her comfort zone that's via Facebook Live posts. And I said, that's super dope. And in those posts, I could see the push for change that Tai had, and a hope for the future, and a desire to help others do the same as well. So I said, these are definitely people, in addition to being dope people, these are people whose position in life I can definitely vibe with and get along with. So I said, I gotta invite him on the program, and our schedules synced up, and we finally got him here, and I am excited. I was thinking about, do I say excited? But I am excited. I'm excited to have these people here because, as I said, they're common people with a good bond here. And so we'll get started with a quick icebreaker question. Like I said, I've known Joe'Mar Tai for quite some time, but you guys in Some Roses Are Red land may not be familiar with, so let's get you familiar with them. You guys are married. I know that. You've been married for some time. So first off, how long have you guys been married? Let's see if the answers match.
I'll go first. 11 years.
11 years. If I can get you to pull those mics a little bit closer.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Even though I put them there, I know.
Thanks, John.
Right.
I'm gonna go with 11 years. Final answer.
Final answer?
Final answer.
I'm gonna look on CCAP real quick.
Yes, it's we were married. It was a wonderful, almost rainy day back in 2008.
Oh, okay. 11 years.
Or 7. The math.
Quick math.
It was 7.
2007. Okay. Does Ty agree?
Yes.
Final answer.
Survey says.
Survey says yes.
Yes, Ty agrees. Okay. That's dope here. And just like I asked with Daryl and Andrea, because people do want to know, and I think it's an interesting story because it gives you a glimpse into who these people are. What's your engagement story? Like, how did it happen? How did you come about, this is the one that I want, and then what did you do to propose?
Interesting.
Bam.
So, it's funny. I knew that I was going to marry Tai. I know the exact date that I was going to marry Tai.
Okay.
I had ran into Tai at you remember Vince, right?
I do.
Yeah, Vince had a New Year's Eve party. I think it was New Year's Eve of like 05 or something. And Tai came in, and I looked at her, and I was just like, I'm going to marry this chick.
Whoa.
I don't know, on everything. I don't know what happened.
Right.
It was just like, and from that day forward, I pursued her, and we started dating, and I want to say literally 8 months later, I popped the question.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw something that I wanted,
Yeah.
she was the perfect one for me, and it worked.
Okay. Were you familiar with that story, Ty? Did you know that one?
I do know the story, and I
Okay.
actually want to say that the day after Vince's party,
Yeah.
the New Year's Eve party, I text Joe'Mar like, "Hey, it was good to see you," and then it just blossomed from there.
Oh.
Once she grinned, I'm in game began.
So you gave him a chance to, in case he wasn't going to be forthcoming, you gave him a chance to step up to the plate and say, "Hey, is this what you want?"
Something like that.
Something like that.
Or,
Gotcha.
or maybe I stepped up to the plate because I saw something I wanted.
Hey,
Ooh.
and she did, and it worked.
Wow.
It works. It worked, most definitely.
Something
Okay.
like that.
And we haven't spent days apart since. we got vacations and stuff, jobs, but you know what I mean.
Right.
In general, days apart.
Right. Sha-la-la-la.
Like, can you be more vague?
Yes. We haven't missed a beat since. Is that better? My analogy, right?
Wow. Okay. So we got 11 years. We have love at first sight, or
No, we had seen each other before that. Don't get us wrong. Like,
okay. So what was different from the first sight and the time that you said this is the one that I want?
I think growth.
Okay.
Growth. I mean, we had talked in the past.
Right.
And I've dated folks. She dated folks. And,
Right.
Honestly, one of the things that stands out to me in my mind after we had dated a little bit, then we
Right.
didn't date. Her mom had passed, and
Okay.
I don't know. We were at the funeral, and I part of me. This was before we had seen her again. I was like,
Right.
man, I wish I could be there for her more than I was. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And then like some time had passed, and I saw her again at the evening, and then it's just like.
Okay.
It was like, yeah, I'm gonna be there for her from now on.
Okay. Now, when you had that thought, I wish I could be there for her more, were you shocked at yourself, or were you just like, no, this is what?
Shocked.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't like it was a natural progression.
Right.
Because you remember me in my
do.
20s and late teens.
That's why I'm
Yeah.
bringing people into the fold. Yes.
Oh yeah, this was
yeah.
some new occurrences, some new feelings
Yeah.
in my life and in my heart.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I can get with that. Okay. So our next question here on our icebreaker round, we'll call it here, is let's see here. There we go. All right. So if your spouse, Ty for Joe, or Joe'Mar for Ty for Joe'Mar, if your spouse were a superhero, who would that superhero be and why?
Ooh,
It's a good one, ain't it?
it is a good one.
So you can go DC or Marvel, but if you go DC, I will judge you. Right.
Well,
I just bought the DC app, so
Right.
I'm going DC today.
So I was gonna go DC too because he's been watching Young Justice like for
Okay.
days
Well,
in a row.
I'll judge you. I just won't say it in front of you.
You know what? I'm gonna go Superman.
Superman.
I'm gonna go Superman
Okay, why Superman?
because he's my Superman.
Oh,
I mean, point blank, he is.
oh,
He's my Man of Steel, all that good stuff.
oh.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I was gonna push deeper and say, well, what's his kryptonite? But no, we don't need to know that. All right, Joe'Mar.
Kryptonite, actually.
Right, literal kryptonite.
Yeah, that's my kryptonite. Yeah.
All right, Joe'Mar. So if Ty were a superhero, who would she be and why?
I'm gonna go a little deeper. Miss Martian.
Ooh, that's a specific one.
Yeah, so you might know Martian Manhunter. From,
I do.
But he has a niece, Miss Martian, and
Right.
she's a telepathic empath person, so
Okay.
she can read your minds and know your thoughts and help you work through your problems and your issues. So
Okay.
she's a counselor by trade, and she does that for a living, helps people with their issues. So she's kind of paid to get into your head and
Right.
figure out what's going on and help you fix it. So she
Okay.
does that to me often, even though I don't really need much fixing.
Right.
But I would say I'm gonna go with Miss Martian.
Okay. So we got Superman and Miss Martian.
Aw, I feel like now I need to go like deeper with mine.
It's too late. You said Superman.
I know, never mind. But he's my Man of Steel though.
Okay. Well, okay, I can vibe with it. So we got Superman and Miss Martian as superheroes there. I initially asked Joe'Mar and Ty to come in for the holiday season, but our schedules didn't match up for that one. But I did still want to ask you one or two questions from the holiday series of questions before we get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast here. So the first question I have would be, what have you been the most thankful for over the 2018 holiday season into 2019? So that would encompass your Thanksgiving, your Christmas, your New Year, all of which have passed, and into 2019 today. And I have two caveats on that one. The first one is, what have you been the most thankful in 2018 leading into 2019 personally? So within yourself, within the being that is you, what have you been the most thankful for?
You want to lead it? You go ahead.
I got it already.
Bang.
I am thankful for the ability to hear well. And it's a thing that is often forgotten about, that you're just like, oh, you take your hearing for granted. Well, when I got hearing aids last year, I was like blown away. The quality of life changed to actually be able to hear people and not be like, huh, what was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Or like basically start lip reading, or just not be around people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it opened your world to an extent.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I had a friend who didn't believe she needed glasses for many years, and when she finally got glasses, she was embarrassed. She was like, "I've been blind, like I couldn't see nothing. There's so many colors in the world.
Is that 8 shades of brown?
Like dogs are shaped like that."
That's how I felt the minute the hearing aids went in. I was like, wait, what's that sound? Oh, that's me, like moving my arm. What?
Oh, wow.
Like little things.
Yeah.
Littlest things.
Okay.
So life-changing.
Okay. So Joe'Mar, personally, over the last 365 and then some into 2019, what would you say that you've been the most thankful for personally within yourself?
That's a tough one, but I think I'm most thankful probably of the fact that I'm at a point in my life where all the problems that I have
Right.
are first world problems.
And that's a good thing.
You know, like I'm kind of at a point like where like my issues are like, oh my God, like which shoes do I need to wear to school to work today? You know what I'm saying? Or like, so like I've been able to get to a point in life right now where family's taken care of. You know what I'm saying? That not as fat as I used to be, so I don't have too many health issues or anything.
Yeah, that's
so
a plus.
I mean, like it's kind of a point to where it's like, yeah, you know, I'm able to navigate to a point where a lot of my issues or anything that I have to deal with, I can pretty easily deal with. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's
like
up.
Or to a point where it's like we say, first world problems.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So that's what I'm kind of really proud of. Now, mind you, that can take a swing at any point in time.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm at a point right now where I'm
Yeah.
feeling pretty comfortable, and that's probably the one thing I'm happiest about and proudest about in my life right now.
Right. Okay. Well, that's dope. That's dope here. And of course, I said I had two caveats on that one. So the first one was personally. The second one, I'll still ask this one. The second one, in your immediate family. So we'll use within your four walls of your household and your extended family. We'll say anyone who you're connected to who may or may not be a blood relative, but you are definitely connected to. You speak to them on a regular basis. What are you the most thankful in terms of those relationships?
I think for the most part, I'm thankful that people feel comfortable coming to me and talking to me, like that. We have a relationship in our family.
Right.
So like the kids, for the most part, they're teenagers, and you know how that can be. But
Right.
they still feel comfortable talking to us about what's going on in their lives.
Okay.
Same thing with our immediate family. Same thing with our friends. I think that's kind of like, it's good that people look to us as stability, that when people can come talk to us, our family and our friends and our kids feel
Right.
comfortable talking to me and Ty about what's going on, and hopefully we can help navigate whatever issues that they're kind of going through. So interpersonally, that's probably the best thing that I'm proud of.
That's what's up. And Ty?
I would say the same thing. Really being able to cultivate a relationship and
Right.
to show up authentically in that relationship.
Yeah.
It extends beyond even people that you know. It extends to people that you meet, and they pick up on that energy. So if you show up for yourself and really who you represent, it filters into everything you do in the relationships you build. So I'm very thankful for that ability to have cultivated those relationships and to continue to build relationships from there.
Okay. I have one more question. It's not on the list here, but I figure just talking to you, I'm like, yeah, I should ask this one. So this other question, I thought it was an interesting one. If you had to say over the last, we'll say 2018, the full 365 of 2018, what are you the most impressed by in regard to yourself and then your spouse? What have you been the most impressed with in 2018, looking back over the things that you've accomplished, to say like, wow, I can't believe that I've done these things. I'm so proud of myself for this. Or I can't believe that my spouse has done these things. I'm so proud of him or her for this.
You want to take that one?
Bang, bang.
Wow, that was a really good question. Oh, I did yoga training last year. I totally forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
So I am so impressed that I went through a wonderful yoga and I'm trying to think of the other name, social justice training called Breathe for Change.
Okay.
For about 4 months, every other weekend in Madison, and out of that, I am a yoga instructor.
What?
And I teach yoga at work. I do some private sessions with a friend and her family.
Okay.
I forget that I went through that because it seemed like it was so long ago.
See?
It was just last year.
See?
Actually, a year ago, like a couple days ago, that I started
officially
that
a
training. Yeah.
Yep. Now, every time she lights a candle, she says yoga.
She said
Thank
yoga
you.
fire. yoga flame.
Actually, I say that.
Right. And Ty, in regard to your spouse, what are you the most proud of? Or no, we won't pride. That's the wrong word. What are you the most impressed by? There we go. Impressed.
I'm really impressed by Joe'Mar's leadership with Common Bond, with how he shows up in his relationships, just who he is filters into everything that he does. And it's really impressive and inspiring to be around.
Okay. Bang, bang. All right, Joe. So now we got, what have you been the most impressed with yourself? And also, what have you been the most impressed by your spouse?
I think in 2018, probably, it's kind of interesting saying, you try to be humble, so then impressed by yourself is something to think about.
I mean,
but I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
But I think as far as some of the work I've been able to do, both in the community and with my company. So when I work for a nonprofit, I kind of run what we do in Wisconsin. We do affordable housing, we do services for our residents, and I was able to, it brought me on to kind of put us on the map.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been able to do that last year. Last year was a year I can actually say, we have been like a company looked at coming in from Minnesota, doing things. But now people are like, no, they're a Wisconsin company because of what Joe'Mar has been able to do. And I got on a couple different boards last year, which was really something that I wasn't set out to do at the beginning of the year, but folks asked me. I'm on the board of Milwaukee College Prep. I'm on the board of the Wisconsin Policy Forum. And I'm on the board of this new mentoring organization called Mentor Greater Milwaukee, which I helped found. So I'm very excited by that too. So those have probably been the biggest things that personally I'm like, yeah, I'm proud of that. Like I sit back, like we did that.
Those are definitely big accomplishments. I will say, as far as Common Bond, when I was doing my research, Facebook stalking, I found that Common Bond had been around for 46 years, I believe it said, and I had never heard of them until you started working there. And I said, well, that's a very good thing, because I not that I heard it from you, of course, but I heard of it from other organizations, and I'm like, well, that's dope, because that buzz wasn't going 2 years ago. So last year,
I appreciate that, man.
Right. That's definitely, again, people that I have on for the reasons that I have on are valid reasons, and they're here for that purpose here. So I got one more question here before we delve into the waters of the deep, so to speak. So the last one for our holiday edition, rather. What are some new holiday traditions you do with your immediate or extended family that you may not have done with the family you had growing up? Now, I know of one of them, so I hope you mention it.
Oh.
You don't have to. I'll just ask you about it after.
You know one of them?
I know one.
Do I know one of them?
Well, we started doing this little ugly sweater joint once a year now, where we try to have some folks come over and just do some ugly sweater. Everybody wear a sweater, and we just sit up and just kind of do whatever, you know what I'm saying? Just get to hang out for a little bit and just chill out and wear some sweaters. So that's one of the traditions, and I think we reached tree overload now, which is a good thing. So I think a new tradition is we We had 3 trees this year.
Oh,
It is not tree overload. We could use like one more.
That's what I'm saying. And I agree with her though. That's what I'm saying. So our new tradition is we want to have a tree in every dang room if possible.
wow. So do you do live trees or you do artificial?
Well, we used to do live trees. Like that was our thing. We used to get up the day after Thanksgiving. We went and bought a live tree. But the amount of times I was stepping on stale, crusty pine needles on December 23rd, just like I can't wait for Christmas. It's like throw away this tree.
Right.
So we switched over to artificials.
Good job. Yeah. We just switched to. Well, no, we didn't just switch, but with the tree we bought, artificial all the way. Yeah. So yeah, definitely.
And pre-lit, make it even easier.
Yeah, that's same. I told you, like mine's.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We also have a thing where we do with the kids where, as we put up the Christmas tree, we listen to like pop Christmas music, like Justin Bieber Christmas.
Okay. Thought you were going to say Kids Bop.
Oh, no.
I know.
It's going to be mad at you.
But it's fun. Like, we listen to all kind of Christmas songs, put all the ornaments up and the lights up, and it's always a fun time with all of our numerous trees we have now.
Yeah, and one other thing, too. So we have a blended family, obviously. So me and Ty have been married for 11 years. Obviously, our daughters are teenagers, so they're from a previous relationship, which you know, but listeners don't know.
They don't know.
So, So we have to split time with the kids during the Christmas. So we started a new tradition where they're always at their mom's house on Christmas Eve. They always come and have Christmas dinner with us. So cool. It's been nice just we get them in the afternoon, they open their gifts, and my whole family comes to my house, and we just have a nice meal and play all the whatever games, Uno's, the 9th version of Uno that we end up getting that year for Christmas. So yeah.
Right. Okay, that's dope. Now I didn't know if this was one that you guys started, but I had seen it on, like I said, Facebook stalking. The cookie cook-off or the cookie contest. I didn't know if that was a new one or if that's something that you had been doing for many years. But
all time.
All time. Okay, so tell me more about the cookie bake-off.
That is our annual cookie exchange.
Cookie exchange. Okay.
Yes, it's something that started in my family prior to Joe'Mar.
Okay.
My grandma, she baked cookies. I feel like everyone's grandma bakes cookies for Christmas. Okay.
Sadly, no.
I don't really recall my grandma fried some chicken for Christmas.
Okay. Well, many grandmas bake cookies. How about that?
Right.
I won't generalize.
Don't grandma shame.
Right? No grandma shaming. So my grandmother made cookies, and she would have a whole room full of cookies, and she would bake for like a whole month. And at some point, she was always baking cookies. And sometimes as a kid, I would always help her. My cousins would help her. So many people came over and helped. And then at some point, people would just come with like cookie tins and grab cookies. And then she passed several years ago. So we decided to bring it back with just cousins, aunties, friends of the family, anyone who wanted to come over in the family. And I think now we're like 8th or 9th year doing it. Okay. I don't know. It's always fun though.
So what was the origin of the cookie? What made her decide to cook cookies for a month?
That's a really good question. I have no idea.
She was retired. She really had not a lot going on during the day, I'm sure. Her family loves cooking.
I was hoping it was something interesting, like she put money in the cookies to launder money or something.
I feel like now I need to call my aunt after this. So that is a question I'm going to ask her. Like, how did this get started? Why did she make so many cookies for like so long?
Because I was thinking, like, I like baking, but if I started making bacon for a month, people would have questions for me. Like, there's different styles of bacon.
John, you have made bacon for a month.
I have.
I mean, okay, let's not say a full calendar month, but I mean, the month of December, there was a lot of
Thanksgiving to this.
There was a lot of baking going on.
There was more frequency in the cookie baking.
There was a whole room full of cookies.
And real talk though, her grandma could throw down.
Okay.
Like,
oh my God,
Miss Satterfield was the truth. So
okay,
so good.
Okay. Yeah, so we got something old, something new in the cookie exchange, and we have the mini tree. I didn't ask you, is there a theme for the trees, or is it just tree? Oh man, you gotta have a theme.
Well, we were gonna do a Packard tree in the basement.
Yeah,
but they sucked this year.
But they were really bad. So
why
honor the Packers with the tree when they sucked?
Go Pack Go, though.
Right.
Right.
So
Still a fan.
the views
Still
and
a fan.
opinions of Ty and Joe'Mar Hooper are not necessarily the views of some Roses.
No, basically the theme is pretty shiny, glittery ornaments.
Okay.
Yo, she's addicted to glitter.
Glitter.
Damn.
Glitter. Glitter.
Glitter.
I mean, glitter is my favorite color because it is a color.
Yeah.
What?
Yo, John, you understand, though, dude. Like,
Glitter is a color?
Glitter. I have glitter in my nails. Well, the few that are left.
Oh, no.
I go to work some days, people be like, where'd you go last night? Like, I got glitter on my face and stuff. Like, no, that was my kitchen. Nobody like,
Wow.
Okay,
Like,
not that
what if-
much glitter.
Right.
I have had glitter on my face before. Just
Wow.
either from her and her glitter obsession, or Kayla making the slime with the glitter in it and stuff
Okay.
too. So it's trickled down to the kids.
I was going to say, or you doing Bruce Lee, or you just glowing. Either one.
Everybody knows.
Right. When you got the glow, you right. Okay. So I hope that gave you a little insight into Ty and Joe'Mar, and I wanted to include them in the holiday session, so I'm thankful that they came by to let me at least ask them some of those same questions from the holiday series here. Now the go ahead.
You know what? I don't think Joe'Mar ever answered what's impressive about his wife from last year.
Oh, she remembered that. Apparently.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hold on a second. I don't think that
Go
happened.
for it, Joe'Mar.
You know what? What it really impressed me is her resiliency, because she's been fighting all her life.
Make me
No.
sick.
Honestly, though, no. It's I really impressed. I'm most impressed with the kind of journey that you took on at the end of the year, where you decided to kind of change your lifestyle when it comes to eating and your working out and things like that. I was really impressed by that, because it takes a lot of effort. It's a lot of work and a lot of effort to try to change your mindset that that's what you want to do and how you want to flip that switch to kind of make a healthier you. And you really took on that dedication, and you jumped two feet into the deep end, and you've done a great job so far.
Aww.
Oh,
Good
right.
job.
5 points, Joe'Mar Hooper. Flawless victory. Okay, so the theme for February is going to be it'll be one that I'll be expanding on, because all the themes are so big that you can go a bunch of different ways here. So what I wanted to try to focus on with you good people today would be in communication. And like I said on the show, we deal with interpersonal relationships, and not necessarily romantic ones. Relationships in general, how you relate to your family, your co-workers, your kids, whoever, how you relate. And I named it tentatively in a manner of speaking, how we say what we want to say here. So the first quote that I found was interesting. It's by Plato here. It says that wise men speak because they have something to say, fools because they have to say something. So I said, well, that's a good one, because you have to say something for some people sometimes, and I just don't vibe with those people. But the first question I have in regard to communication for you guys is, in your personal life, who do you go to for sound guidance on most topics in regard to communication? Who's your go-to person? And I do, of course, have a caveat for this one. Your go-to person for sound advice in your age group, who would that person be? And oh, no, I'm sorry. Is this person in your age group? And then in your age group, who would you go to?
Good question.
Because you kind of have to. I like to believe that there was not a quote, but it was a speaker that said you can gauge a person's outcome by the people they surround themselves with. And I said that's a pretty good one, because those are the inputs into your life. And if you are shaped by your environment, then these people are definitely shaping you one way or the other.
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah.
Splash.
Wow, you like dropped the mic on us.
Seriously.
Right.
Woo.
You want to go ahead and take your time?
Yeah.
Let me think about this one. Go ahead, baby.
Okay, so I'll ask it again here. In your personal life, and this is for sound guidance, it says you can pick any number of topics, or you can pick one specific topic. Who's your go-to person for this topic?
Yeah. Well, I think just for me, it's kind of interesting. So I have a friend who we were former co-workers. I'm going to bring up Tori, obviously.
Right.
She's kind of like my soundboard. Like she thinks she's smarter than me. She's not. So if you ever listen to this, you're not smart.
Wow.
But
I'm going to tag Tori. I'm going to name the
love you,
episode,
Tori.
You're Not Smarter Than Me.
But like and we've gotten really, really close over the last 3 years, and it's like she probably is my sounding board for a lot of the stuff that I do and a lot of decisions that I try to make, personally and professionally. So she's
Okay.
kind of helped me through a lot of tough jams. Like just kind of getting my mind right and wrapped around a specific way to say something or to talk about something or to do something. So, and it's interesting. You would think that it'd be somebody else, and she's younger than me a little bit, but it's like, no, we've actually got a relationship where we vibe and we're able to kind of bounce off a lot of stuff about each other. So she's been really a big help for me, kind of getting my communication where it needs to be. And she's probably one of the best communicators I've ever met, though. So I keep telling her she needs to do a TED Talk or something.
She should. I'm gonna have to find a way to get her on this program.
Tori's pretty dope.
Okay,
she really is.
Tori, I'm headhunting. So all right.
You cannot call her Tori though. Only I can call her Tori. So
what's her full name?
No, that's her full name, but she goes by TR.
I love you, TR.
Yes, so so you gotta call her that. So
I gotta work up to that. I don't know her. So so since she's a bit younger than you, who would you say in your elder group? Who would be in your elder circle if there were to be one for general advice or even some specific stuff, some heavier stuff?
I've been fortunate that I kind of do got some folks who I've had kind of as mentors kind of coming up a little bit, I've been able to bounce off a lot of things. It's really weird. I don't go to a lot of folks when it comes to
that's why we're friends.
Like, I don't keep stuff in though, but I don't go to folks normally when it comes to personal stuff. You know what I'm saying? I kind of I spend some time in my head. I spend some time reflecting on experiences, and I try to work it out. But I got a lot of great guys. My old former colleague Antonio, my former boss, Mark, one of my former bosses, who I can go to when it's something on the work side or just the community side where I need some thoughts and advice too. I go to those guys and they really give me some solid advice. But when it comes to on the personal side, 9 times out of 10, I kind of try to figure that out. I mean, it's probably for better or for worse, but I try to figure that out.
I do understand, because I think it's, for me, it feels too much like quitting to just help me, please, without having to at least wash it in the waters of introspection.
Yeah.
Like that, wash it in the waters. That's a good one.
You'd be like, I got this. I can figure this out.
Right.
And if I can't figure it out, then something went really wrong. Right. That's how you feel, right?
Right. I'm smart enough to know this. If I can understand the problem, certainly I can come to a reasonable solution. That's how I feel.
Yeah, 100%. If not, we'll just go to YouTube.
Right. All right.
Everything.
Yeah, basically.
So anything short of DEFCON 7, I'm gonna try and work it out.
Yeah.
So special.
And wait.
So special.
Maybe that might not be the best thing. I mean, see how Ty's looking. I'm like, it probably is not the greatest way to do things. You might want to bring, but
it's been working.
I have all 10 toes and all 10 fingers.
Right.
It's worked so far.
Right. Okay.
The look I'm giving him is shaking my head. Shaking my head.
10 toes down.
10 toes
Literally.
Down. All right, Ty. So, who in your personal life, whether they be older person or young, or we'll say in your age group. So a little bit, we'll say plus or minus 5. We'll call that your age group here.
Okay.
Who is your sounding board for general or even specific advice?
Okay. Well, one, I'd like to say Joe'Mar's one of them.
Okay.
Even though he may not always communicate what he has on his mind, not in a negative way.
Right.
But I know that I can come to him because he does have sound advice.
There you go.
Don't quote me on that.
Too late.
Well, I feel like I need to make a caveat to my conversation too, because Ty is a part of every single internal decision that I have ever made, except for who to call a plumber. Like, I'm not gonna ask that, obviously, but when it comes to life decisions and life choices and things that are really bugging me, I do go to Ty. So she's a part. Obviously, she has to be a part of it. So our relationship wouldn't be lasting the way as long as it has. If that was the case. So
I'm going to edit Joe'Mar's answer out, so it'll just be nothing. I go to no one.
Right. Oh, wait. And my wife. And my wife.
Put at the end of the show. Oh, and my wife.
Everything I said earlier.
Right.
And my wife.
And my wife. All right, Ty. So in your elder group, so we'll say... who we call? We'll say at least 12 years plus. If there is a person. If there's not, that's cool.
I don't really think there is. I mean, I talk to my sister a lot. Well, both of my sisters.
Yeah.
They're 8 and 16 years older than me. There's an 8-year age gap between the three of us.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I talked to them.
Okay.
I did not mention before in my peer group my best friend that lives in Joplin, Missouri.
Okay.
I love her, and we've been friends since college, since UW-Madison, like 2001. And actually, interesting story. She hated me when we first met.
Jeez.
Because apparently I spoke my mind and she did not like it. But then it turns out it was just a miscommunication, as we're talking about communication, right? And as we became friends, and then over the years we've really just grown to be wonderful friends. And she's always someone besides Joe'Mar and my sister, someone that I can turn to when I need someone to give me the truth and let me know what I'm saying, if it's BS or not.
But I am going to step back for both of us, and I'm just going to keep it 100 on the podcast, John.
Go ahead.
And I hope that I'm going to try and say it so it doesn't come off too bad.
Right.
Okay, so let me air this out real quick.
Right.
Uh-oh.
So, me and Ty often feel like that the best decisions can be made with each other.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and we feel like like I said, she has 10 toes too.
Yeah.
I think I didn't count them today. So we spent the last 11 years kind of building this. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like the decisions we have made, they all haven't been impeccable. I mean, we've probably made some bad decisions along the line, but we've been able to course correct almost immediately.
Right.
So from that standpoint, we kind of feel like we've gotten to a point where we don't really seek any outside counsel on a lot of the stuff we do. Not necessarily because folks can't give us good advice.
Right.
But we don't feel like any advice that we can get externally
would be better than
something that we as a conglomerate together, us two, can come up with together. So when we put our heads together, I mean, like, I'm like B.A. Baracus and this is Hannibal, you know what I'm saying? we love it when a plan comes together, you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Wow.
So whether that's through, thick and thin, whether that's money issues, whether that's issues with kids, issues with family, like, we just feel like we can figure this out. And ain't nobody advice gonna be better than what we can kind of get internally.
Right.
I'll agree with that.
Had a friend of mine who had a pretty interesting quote that I like to use from time to time, and he said that he never takes advice from anyone who hasn't been hit really hard in the face. And I said, I understand that, because that person knows the value of a risk, and he knows the danger in taking a risk. A person who's never been hit really hard in the face is a little bit more reckless than a person who has been. So I said that's an interesting perspective. I'll use that one.
Was it Jay-Z or Kanye who had the quote, "I don't take advice from people less successful than me"?
That's an interesting one as well.
That was Kanye. It had to be Kanye, actually,
it sounds Kanye.
That sounds very egotistical.
It's very egotistical and very whatever. But think about it though, right? Like,
right.
I mean, Bill Gates ain't calling me up asking, "Oh, what should we do? Should we split the stock and start to do IPO?" And because he kind of is more so like.
Yeah,
it sounds bad, like from the top when you think about it. It doesn't sound it doesn't sound humble. It doesn't sound great. But at the end of the day,
you understand
what it is. You understand.
Yeah. Because I think I would agree with that, because it's similar to in getting older and having longer relationships and stuff like that, more serious relationships. I found that my quote unquote advice, if you will, for relationships has less to do with, you should just leave or you should do this, because there's more at stake than just my opinion. I'm basing my opinion on this person from the outside. I don't have a history with this person. I don't have the ups and downs. I don't have the story with this person. So for me, it's easy to say go or break apart or do whatever you have to do. Yeah. So usually my advice now is just to talk about the relationship and not really give a stay or go type standpoint. So I definitely can understand that if you don't have anything to risk in the exchange, I don't know if your advice is going to be holding it that much weight. So yeah.
My advice when it comes to a lot of those scenarios has always been like, if you like it, I love it.
Right.
You're gonna do what you want to do anyway.
Exactly.
So like, I'm gonna listen to you and we can help. But if that's what you feel like you want to do, I'm gonna support you in any way possible.
Oh yeah. So
advice versus guidance.
Right. I definitely can agree.
Yeah.
Ty. Yes.
Yeah. Sure, I'm listening. This is all wonderful ideas. I'm taking it in. Taking this in.
Okay.
Senor.
Right. Okay. So I got another one here on that same topic here, of course. This is for either one of you, or individually or collectively. Generally speaking, are you more communicative, or do you prefer others to do the talking for you? That's kind of a loaded question because nobody's going to say that I prefer somebody to do talking for me.
Yeah.
But it's still good enough to ask.
It is a good one to ask. I think that I can communicate. Obviously, I can communicate because I'm talking right now to
What?
you guys.
What?
Right? Sometimes I get a little bit in my head and I have so many thoughts running through my mind and finding in my mind the right words to say what I want to say.
Right.
And then Joe'Mar, he can just think for a second and he'll come up with this answer. And I'm like, how did you do that? So as much as I feel like I can communicate, sometimes I need my time to process it.
Yeah.
More so than with Joe'Mar, who processes it in less time, but still comes out with pretty much what I'm thinking, pretty close to it.
Would you say that could be attributed to the internal monologue, that keeping the things in and processing so long and coming?
Probably.
Bam.
Probably.
Bam. Team inside.
And yeah, to that dovetailing off that point, I do think, being able to get out your communications. Sometimes, like you said, sometimes you have to spend some time thinking and being internal about it. But open, honest communication on all fronts is always a great thing. You know, and even just thinking about on the marriage front, me and Ty, we always try to make sure that we're open and honest with communication so that we can don't let stuff fester, so we can kind of get it out ASAP. You know what I'm saying? It's difficult sometimes. You just want to go to bed and don't talk to nobody, but we try to get it out though. So
yeah. So this question I don't have on here, but it's one that I'm interested in here. In bridging two different communication styles, have you what have you found has been the best method for you to bridge those two communication styles, to give each other space when you need space and to probe when you need to probe?
Another
splash.
Fantastic question.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know.
You know what? I think
Go ahead, Joe'Mar.
Intentionality.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing. So we are always, or we try to be, when we're intentional about it, we're intentional about it.
Yeah.
That just knowing that we need to spend time having these conversations. Like when we first got together, we set up kind of some mechanisms to kind of help us out when it comes to our communication. We started this one thing called the budget committee. So like when there's an issue with money or we talk about this, we hold an impromptu meeting of the budget committee.
Okay.
Any one of us can call it at any time.
Okay.
And then we have a conversation and we communicate about money issues. When we don't like stuff that's going on, we stole this from somebody. I don't even know who we stole. We might have stole this from some BT show, I think. It was like, I forgot what it was, but truth moments.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You have a thing where if you, at any point in time throughout any moment,
Right.
If one of us says truth moment, other person got to listen, and that person is owed their truth.
Okay.
You like truth moment, do your feet stink? Like, like that's at the minimum. You know what I'm just saying, that never happens because my feet smell great.
Right.
But like that, we have truth moments. So I think that just being like those are like mechanisms of intentionality. So whatever those mechanisms looks like, we have probably a million of them. Some little levers. They don't always work right. Because obviously we've had communication roadblocks many a times. But I think just when you're intentional about intentionality is what really helps bridge those different communication styles.
Okay.
I think it also helps that we don't lead with our emotion. And I can say that more so for myself because I am an emotionally driven person and Joe'Mar is not. And so I try
not in the same way.
right? He's like the definition of stoic. Just see right there. His face is
I like to believe that and not to cut you off here, but I like to believe that the less emotional, quote unquote, are people that spend their emotions in crafting what they want to say more so than in the manner in which they respond. That's just my thing though. I spend that time in crafting how I want to say. The emotion is there. I want to come across this way. So when I present it, it's the finished product. I've already gone to the emotional.
Yeah.
Oh,
100%.
Wow.
That's a really great way to put that.
I love that.
Kudos, brother. Kudos.
Yeah, see, I just go in with the emotion and then he may become defensive for my emotion, the way I say it.
Right.
And I don't intend for it to come out that way, but it may come out that way. And then I'm backtracking. And then whether he's defensive or not, then I'm thinking like, okay, crap, I didn't mean to say that. Like, what did I really mean to say? So it's really cheesy, but like using those I statements. I feel whatever because blah, 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 blah.
But it works.
It works.
It's clarity.
It honestly works. I statements are cheesy, but they are very effective.
Oh, yeah. I agree. To your point when you said truth moment, I had on the podcast previously, I want to say a couple weeks ago, I had my mom and Richard on, and they were talking about they have a statement when kind of checks and balances with each other, where they would say, I should have checked the fine print on the marriage document. And that's usually to say something you did is kind of messed up, but I should have checked the fine print. And I thought that's pretty good, similar to the truth moment there. So I'll be adopting both of those practices because I think those are good practices. And to delve into what you said earlier in regard to, you said that most of the advice that you guys have between you two, you even if you had a mistake, you learned to put yourself back on track, which further speaks to the point that you had to come to a point of consensus in your communication to understand each other and to respect each other's space. So even without saying it, see, good people, you can pick up on it by the things people say. Their pathways lead to the direct path. So good stuff. Yeah. So our next question, I know, dope people, man. I'm saying, man, friends are dope. Get your friend game up.
Real recognize real.
Right. Real rap raw. Let's see here. Here's a good one here. When I noticed in the podcast sidebar that I had Daryl and Andrew on here, I said the word here like 57,000 times, man. Like I'm trying not to keep saying here. Look at here. Right. I say here, and I say percentages, and I say elaborate a lot. So I'm trying to distance myself from those. I probably won't, but I'm just trying.
We'll give you a signal when you do.
Now.
Right, here.
Elaborate on that, John.
Right, I'll elaborate here, 100%. So the next question here, here, I can't do it. It's you know what I mean? It's my security blanket. So the next, that's how it works. When was the last time, either one of you, of course, or individually or collectively, when was the last time you had to deal with a person who only speaks to hear themselves speak when working on a project or in your daily lives? You don't have to name that person, but when was that last time you worked on that person? And then the second part of that question, of course, because there's got to be a second part, what steps or how did you navigate those conversations, and how did you navigate those interactions? So the last time you had to deal with a person who speaks only to hear themselves, and what steps did you take to navigate those conversations?
I'm gonna have a little bit of a terser response, so I'm gonna let Ty go ahead.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of someone, and I'm taking me a minute to think of someone without identifying them.
Right. And it's always difficult because those people, right? You know those people, but to craft it in a manner that is not to say skip them in so many words.
You can't. You have to say skip
Bang.
in so many words. Because, I think when it comes to those projects and things like that I've had to deal with, or working on something with folks like that, you just you gotta let them talk, and you let them get out if they apparently feel like they have to get either a last word or a word or some word on the stuff.
Right.
But 9 times out of 10, it doesn't really affect the operation of what you're kind of moving forward with.
Right.
So I'm okay if somebody wants to pontificate about a specific subject or about a specific piece of the work.
Right.
That's as long as they're not 9 times out of 10, that person's not in a leadership or decision making position. They just, so if that's done, now you have a problem if that person is the lead of the whatever you're doing.
Right.
Then you got some issues.
Right.
But 9 times out of 10, people who have been put in positions to be leaders and to be managers and to be people who are moving initiatives forward aren't the ones who just talk to hear themselves talk.
Yeah.
So we just kind of let those people go, and then we continue to make these decisions to move the project or the item or the decision forward.
Right.
I'm okay with that. I can too. We're in 2019. I have a cell phone with me at all meetings. If somebody wants to start talking, I can check my emails for 3 minutes while you speak on, and then get right back to what we need to talk about right after that.
Okay.
So to me, it's more like you're more. Everybody's entitled to have a voice.
Right.
And I encourage you to have your voice. I hate people who talk just for the sake of talking, for hearing themselves. But sometimes you just gotta, as long as it doesn't affect the decision-making purpose, or as long as it's not the leader, or somebody you're looking to make those decisions, it's okay.
Right. Okay.
So, in thinking about who this individual is, this person was in a leadership role, and several jobs ago. I've had many jobs. over the years.
3 jobs.
Right. I've had 3.
Tree. You got tree, Joe.
It was very difficult working with this individual. Very difficult. I had never encountered anyone like this, especially in a leadership role.
Right.
Very, very challenging, to the point where I asserted myself and spoke my piece.
Right.
And then they, in turn, came back and actually apologized to me.
Oh, wow.
Because they know they spoke out of line. But it happened like several times. It was very strange. It was very strange.
Yeah.
But I had to learn that this person's talking just to talk wasn't about me. It wasn't about what I was doing. It was their insecurities being projected onto me in my work, which I wasn't the greatest person in that position, but I thought I was doing pretty darn good.
Right.
And it took a long time. I worked with this individual for like 2.5 years. Probably at the 1-year mark is when it got better. And then at the 2-year mark, this person wanted to like be my best friend and at the job, and it was very weird. It was weird.
Okay.
It was so strange.
Yikes.
I would agree with you. I do think that the over-talkers, it does stem from an insecurity, because once you're secure, I use the analogy that a person who is secure within themselves, I could call you by a million different names, but you only answer to the one that is yours. If you're insecure, you're searching for the name that fits best. So today I might be Paul, tomorrow I might be John. It doesn't feel right. So once you've grounded yourself and found security, I can agree with that. Yeah.
You know, I've learned a long time ago in my career, don't speak unless you're going to add something to the conversation.
There you go.
You know, I've been in many meetings and people walk out like, "Oh, Joe'Mar, why didn't you say anything?" I ain't got nothing to say. Everything, y'all did a great job. Everything was great. Let's move forward. Or it was just I couldn't have fixed the situation that you guys messed up, so there was nothing to say either.
Right.
So, you know, there's a place for speech. There's a place for communication, and it's not always there.
Right.
Sometimes, you know, silence works.
I had a friend of mine who I played with in a band. He used to say that one of the missing parts that people don't really notice about music and playing collectively is that silence is a part of music as well. You have to be able to listen. So I think that's a key one in communication, both since music is a language and communication in and of itself is a language. You have to be able to listen, to know when to speak, when not to speak, and when to navigate between the two. I agree.
Yeah. And it's funny, there's a story that I deal with this often because I work, my company I work, we're headquartered in the Twin Cities. I work in Wisconsin, obviously.
Right.
So I do a ton of conference calls through our territories.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really is a pet peeve of mine, and it just goes to the fact that people just expect everybody to contribute.
Right.
At the end of every conference call, if I didn't say anything, there's a reason why I didn't say anything, right? The leader of that conference call will always ask, "Joe'Mar, do you have anything to add?"
Do you respond, "Did I add anything?"
I want to so bad, but literally, John. And it's a running. I've actually told people this now.
Right.
I'm like, okay, guys,
Just don't.
I'm going to say something. If I need to feel like I want to add something to the conference call or the conversation, I'm going to say it. You don't have to worry about me. I'm not shy. I'm not timid.
Right.
So there's no need. So it always creates this weirdness at the end of the conference calls where it's like, "Joe'Mar, do you have anything to add?" I'm like, and I gotta say like either no and just plain no, or no. I think everybody summed it up. I agree with everything everybody said.
Right.
So like that's like
the
most awkward thing to say.
Right.
So.
You just gotta think of different phrases to say now. Just right down the
like, "We're good."
right. Oh man!
Say that in Spanish.
Do you think Ricky would have made it to the NFL if he didn't get killed? What?
Yes.
That's all I gotta say.
Why didn't Ricky run zigzag?
Why do you run in the straight line?
What was he thinking?
You guys are so special. I have to add to your point that you were saying earlier, John, about silence and listening.
Yeah.
That is probably the two biggest things I learned in doing mental health counseling.
Yeah.
The value of listening.
Oh yeah.
And how many people speak or they listen just to figure out what they're going to say next. Yes. And then also silence. Like, I mean, early on in my career, silence was really challenging. Like, I need to fill this gap of nothing with something. Mm-hmm. But there's so much value in silence. And I do, I mean, as much as I'm talking now, I do really like to be quiet.
Yeah.
And like, just let it be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. You made a good point about that speaking to respond. I mean, that listening to respond.
That listening to
Right.
respond,
Folks
yes.
just want to come back and just, okay, I'm listening to you just so I can get my next point in.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I find myself, I'll ask right when I finish my statement, what'd I say? Just, well, because then you have to answer my question before you can get to your point. So, throws people off. Bang, bang.
Oh, also, too, what if Ricky would have tore his ACLs freshman year?
Oh
That would have
gosh.
been terrible.
Oh, my God.
Right.
Like, would he have? He'd have been right back in the hood.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That, or,
Let's just think about that for a minute. Let's
yeah.
marinate on that.
What if Ricky had lived?
What would have happened? Like,
Would
would he have
there be
CTE
a
right now?
part
The
two?
NFL's very
He could.
dangerous. You know
He
what I'm
could
saying?
have.
Part 3? Part 2? Part 3? Did it have like a whole, like,
Or like-
the college years?
Yeah. Or like, what if he'd have been like a horrible individual? Like he got rich and just beat up like his kids and his wife. Would it be better that they had took
gosh.
Ricky out?
Wow. Or what if he went to the college from higher learning and then Remy took it?
That was masterful.
So he lived through the first shooting.
Clap through that, by the way.
Oh, you okay? So he made it through the first shooting, but then the second one he got taken out. Message. So get your boys in the hood on. You can see all about Ricky, and you can tell us in the comments what you think. All right, here, of course, we have a couple more questions here. We're doing pretty good. Going on a nice click here. Oh yeah, this one. I was thinking about when I wrote this question. I think I was listening to one or two of Ty's Facebook posts and reading some stuff on Comment Bond. Multitasking is what I do. This question here is here, and here. What role does the external community play in empowering or discouraging you personally from finding and using your voice? If you had to say the role that the external community outside of your home, what role does the community play, if they should play, if you feel they should, or if they don't? What role do the external community play in empowering you or discouraging you from finding and using your voice? Now, I know for me, it's coming from a family. I tell Valencia all the time, coming from a family, much to Joe'Mar's point about not speaking, I come from a loud family. Very, very vocal people, very outspoken people. Love it. Didn't like it so much when I was a kid. I was like, why we gotta talk so much? But that's who they are. But for me, I learned that there are spaces in between. Like even in terms of music or in terms of football, the space between, those are the things you should look for. So I find myself fitting in the spaces between. But Joe'Mar, I know you were prepared to answer. What role does the external community play?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing. As we talked about, I'm more, I don't know if it's the right word, intrinsically motivated when it comes to finding my voice.
Yeah.
So if, regardless of what's happening externally of me, if there's a goal that needs to be reached or that I feel that needs to be reached, whether it's personally, whether that's business-wise or in the community, something that I'm working on, I find that motivation internally to kind of get what I need to do.
Yeah.
I think a big part of it, though, so just taking a step back, I have had folks in the past who have encouraged me to have that voice,
Right.
which has been helpful. I don't necessarily need that encouragement any longer because I've had that encouragement in the past.
Okay.
On smaller levels, in between levels, growing up and being in a lot of rooms where I was the only black person and coming up in a lot of places, it's tough to find your external motivation, external voice amongst those groups.
Right.
So I've always had to find that internally, just and it's been really helpful for me to look internally and say, okay, I need to get XYZ done. I want to accomplish XYZ. We need to accomplish XYZ. And I'm not going to look at none of these folks in this room to kind of empower me to lend my voice to this conversation. I got to do it or else I ain't going to have no voice.
Right.
Or it's the people who I represent won't have a voice. Right. So to me, that's probably been a bigger piece as well, too.
Okay, so would you say that you have found that in terms of finding your voice, for you, it was best to have those people at the onset of your career path to give you that, I won't even say the push, we'll say the support to let you step out and find your way yourself?
I would say so. I think it's minor. It hasn't. It wasn't like somebody sat you down was like, yo, you gotta talk. This is a conversation. You need to be talking about this. It's more like the subtle things, like being early in your career. Joe'Mar, what do you think? Like, to be like 20 something and folks in a room with where you probably are the only black person or impressive group of folks are asking you, what do you think? Little stuff like that kind of works with you. It makes you kind of feel like you belong in those rooms. And it makes you understand, like, no matter what, I'm gonna get my voice out because I have a story to tell. My voice leads credence to these issues. And it's necessary and it's needed.
Okay. Snap, snap, snap.
Right?
Tai.
That was beautiful. Like, I don't want to come up after that.
Well, I mean, that's his personal story. You have a story. So, what role for you personally does the external community play in empowering or discouraging, or is it more like Joe'Mar, just to give you support in the beginning to affirm what you may or may not know or what you may or may not have believed wholeheartedly?
Right. I mean, that piece of intrinsic motivation is really important, for sure. You can have a voice, but if you don't have that external voice, but if you don't have that internal voice that's kind of driving the ship for you, I mean, you're really going to be going all over the place.
Very true.
So there definitely the intrinsic motivation, I can say, especially with the whole holistic wellness, healthy lifestyle changes I made, that intrinsic voice was so important because without that, nothing would have happened. With that being said, also the external motivators, the external community can help strengthen that voice. And other people sharing that, you know what, I've also had the same struggles, or I didn't know anyone else felt like that. You know, it's almost like your voice can help speak for those that are not speaking, or maybe didn't even know that that is an issue. And it's really empowering to hear someone say that, you know what, like the Facebook Lives, thank you for doing that. Thank you for saying this, like your vulnerability, your courage with doing this. I'm thinking like even at work, I work in an early Head Start organization where I'm the mental health coordinator. And and I'm talking about wellness, mindfulness, letting and learning. No, I can't talk right now. Funny enough, right?
Here.
Here.
Sure.
Helping people be able to find a voice within all the things that they do in the classroom and to know that they have an outlet. Like it's empowering to empower someone else and then to get feedback of what is working, what's not working. Like it all plays a role. External, internal, like they feed off of each other. But first, it has to come internally.
And you know what? Just kind of extrapolating that out to we might as well just talk about the community a little bit. So I think that's an issue that kind of affects a lot of young people nowadays, and a lot of people, even people our age too. Like kind of on both fronts, they don't have anybody and have not had anybody as a community as a whole, us black and brown folks, to kind of to nurture that intrinsic voice.
I agree.
So you'd be like, okay, you need to kind of think about this internally and present it forward. And they definitely haven't had somebody externally nurture that voice either. So you're kind of in a no-win situation for a lot of our young people right now. So that's why I really believe strongly in mentoring. That's something we got to start doing for these young people, because they need to definitely have an opportunity to build that voice internally and externally, which they're not getting right now. It's tough. So I've definitely been fortunate, and I don't even know where my internal came from. Like we grew up in the same scenarios. Our parents, we loved our parents to death, but our parents
it was magic.
Our parents were our parents. Like,
pretty much. And that's a full statement there. I mean, I agree.
So it's kind of like, they were never like, we kind of we built some of this stuff internally, both through examples of the community and examples with each other as well too. So,
and I think to your point, I think that's very interesting, because the more you talk to people, like you said, in the community, and you find out that it's really just a couple of minor changes that differentiate you from other people. Like, it could have easily gone another way. Like, it wasn't that you were in such a better position. It was just one or two different choices, one or two, that sent you down a different path, and that's always amazing to me that some people just don't get those opportunities.
100%. It's a little turning point.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's that back to the butterfly effect.
Yeah, definitely.
She stepped on a butterfly. I stepped on a butterfly somewhere, and it made me versus my homeboy who grew up on 42nd Street.
Right.
He missed that butterfly.
Right.
Or something, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Something. Yeah. That's. Yeah. I agree.
I think it comes down to people being heard. Like you guys can grow up in the same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Someone heard you. You had the opportunity to be heard.
Yeah.
So you had a chance for your voice to be nurtured.
Well, I would push back on that. I would say that we didn't care.
I would agree.
You know what I'm saying? More so,
to an extent, yeah.
Goody Mob had a line like, listen to me now or hear me later on.
Right.
So it's like, me and John we're sophisticated a-holes. we kind of feel like we right a lot of the time. And like, if you ain't listen to us, then that's something wrong with you.
Pretty much. And I would agree. I would agree. And it's not as much as it's an a-hole thing, it's not really an a-hole thing because 8 times out of 10 it's usually true.
Yes. Listen to me now.
Right.
Or hear me later on.
Right.
And this is why you guys are friends.
Yeah. And I mean, like, even to the point, like, half the stuff that, like, if Joe'Mar, myself, and Tim get together, like, we question each other on stuff that we know the other person knows the answer, but we just question just cuz.
100%.
Like, where you getting this from? Like, what do you mean? Where we getting? Yeah,
like, I know this. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So it's kind of like we didn't need that validation.
Right.
Because we was like, well, whatever.
Right.
If I told you there's a hole in the floor, you want to keep walking.
Right.
It's on you.
Right. Yeah.
That's fair. I respect that.
And I don't know if it was, well, I believe, like we were talking about before, the environment that shapes you. I don't know if it was culturally, it was a different vibe. I don't know, generationally, the parents had a different vibe. Musically, it was a different vibe. The whole shift was coming off of 80s and 90s, the empowerment, self-discovery, black people, blackest, all that stuff. So possible.
Yeah,
very possible.
I mean, I look at it. We was fortunate. Like, we had a couple of different friend groups and a couple of different like opportunities to vibe off each other. Like, if you look at like the fact that me, John, Daryl, Karsten, we grew up together, having sleepovers and stuff, and then like we was able to kind of still keep going, and like we all pushed each other at a young age, either through talking crap or just whatever to kind of be what we need to be. And then as we transitioned into our adulthood, it was me, John, and Tim was always there to continue to push each other where we needed to be. You know what I'm saying? Throughout family circumstances, throughout marriages, throughout divorces, throughout kids, throughout accidental kids, throughout, you know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff. So it's kind of like we surrounded ourselves with brothers and with cats who was like-minded. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
So like when you look at what's one thing I'm very fortunate. A lot of my A1s really, you know what I'm saying? Like even though we spread across the country or whatever, we still we had that bond that really got us to where we needed to be in life.
Right.
I mean,
Beautiful.
Aaron and your brothers included in that time.
Yeah.
All that.
What?
Those experiences we had with hanging with, in college and high school, playing basketball. All that stuff. It got us to who we are now.
And I would say, even to add to that I think we had our palette was more diverse than I think a lot of, not knowing, but I think our palette was more diverse in terms of we got into more different things than just quote unquote the status quo. Like if you black and in the hood or whatever, you got to do this. Or if you black and you go to MPS, you got to do this. Like we got into all sorts of stuff. We played golf together. We Monopoly. We did vacation. Like all type, just wide open stuff. So
100%. And we were able to think outside the box.
Right.
I mean, we probably got called names behind our backs for
probably.
that. But it is what it is. Well, no, probably. I know we did.
Right.
But it is what it is.
Right. Yeah. I agree. Well, see, good stuff, man. Here, let's see here. I got a couple questions. Let me see if I can. I don't want to keep you guys too long.
You ran out of wine and cheese.
Right. Your Merlot needs more grapes.
But John,
you never had wine before. Got ants in your mouth. All right.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Oh, this one was the second part of that question when I was watching Ty's video. Ty specifically, but of course this is also for Joe'Mar here. Ty, in the second video of your ongoing Facebook Live posts, You spoke about challenging your internal dialogue. We spoke about it a little bit earlier.
Yes.
How important has it been to both acknowledge the internal conversations we all have within ourselves and also to talk back to them with your actions?
Beautiful, beautiful questions. My gosh, you have the
Set
best
up.
questions, right?
Right.
Got my alley-oop
Right.
for you.
There you go.
Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, now I forgot what I was going to say. I was all excited about the alley-oop part. Okay, repeat the question again. It'll come back to me.
Question is, you spoke about challenging your internal dialogue, the internal dialogue that you spoke about, and the internal dialogue that we all have. How important has it been to both acknowledge that internal dialogue and to talk back to that internal dialogue or that internal critic, or even the dialogue, doesn't have to be critical, with your actions?
That internal dialogue can hold you prisoner.
Yeah.
I mean, and mine really held me prisoner for a long time, and I thought I could make these major life changes, and I was like, I can do this. I can do the physical actions.
Right.
But deep down, there was a part of me that was kind of just chipping away at all the good things that I was doing.
Yeah.
And it was, I'm like, oh, I did this today. I was like, but you still didn't do that.
Yeah.
So that internal dialogue, if we don't challenge it, it's gonna come out no matter what. It's gonna seep into everything that you do. And I have to thank Daryl for including me in part of the wellness group and 4 other amazing women also on their own wellness journeys.
Right.
And that really was the biggest piece of it for like at least a month, if not more. And we're still talking about it.
Right.
Challenging that critic that you have, because without challenging it, you can't really move forward. You're always going to be stuck in the past. It's like you're in like quicksand.
Yeah.
You think you're moving, but you're really going nowhere.
Right. Just busy flailing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, but I'm doing something. No, you're not really doing anything.
You're just drowning more dramatically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny, and it's interesting too. So when Ty first started doing the whole Facebook Live video thing,
Right.
you could imagine, you know me, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't on board with that.
Yeah.
I was actually like, we private people,
Yeah. we private.
We cultivate our image to the world via Facebook, and we give it to people
Right.
that we want it to be.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And it's worked out very well so far.
Right,
People
right.
think Joe'Mar is this and Ty is that.
Right.
So me getting on board with her, kind of being able to share her feelings and her internal monologue externally, it was tough for me at first. But we had to really talk about it and talk about what that looks like, because I am a private person,
Right.
and I think and plus just me always thinking like, okay, my image this, my image that. But sometimes things are bigger than that,
Yeah.
and we really had to have some conversations about that. So I'm really happy that she's able to share that right now and kind of do what she needs to do. But it was, ain't gonna lie, it was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was a challenge.
Yeah. I think to that point, I remember there was an interview I watched with Mike Tyson, and he was talking about, they were asking him.
Eating your kids? Is that
Right. Not that one. That was a good one, though.
Broke his back?
Right. Spinal. But he was talking about, they asked him, was about confidence in entering the ring. He said, I could always tell, even before entering the ring, at the weigh-in or whenever he would first meet the opponent, he could say, I would always tell by looking the person in their eyes where they were weak, what they were not confident about, and I would attack it. And I said, well, good God, if even Mike could recognize that. He said, I could recognize the weakness within that person because he recognized it within himself. And when he began to train, he began to weed himself from that weakness. So he knew what it looked like in someone else. Wow. And I said, bang, bang, Mike. Wow. Good job. Yeah, man. It's good
profound
stuff. Good stuff, ain't it?
Tyson.
Right?
Tyson.
With the tattoo on his face, Tyson, like the same one.
Probably pre-tattoo.
Yeah.
Tyson.
My favorite Mike Tyson quote is, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Which is true.
Yes.
Everybody has a plan until they get hit in the mouth.
Yes.
Second part of that question, Ty, here. What has been your most effective tool against your internal critic? Or what would you tell a person that you've done, or what would you say, try these tools to be most effective against your internal critic?
It was definitely a combination of yoga, meditation, mindfulness, journaling. I resisted journaling for a while. I was like, journaling's cheesy. Who does that? I love journaling.
It's
it
good.
really is fantastic.
It really is.
helps me get out of my head and get all the thoughts on paper. I journaled this morning. I came to like some self-discovery about something that I didn't even realize was there.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Probably a Facebook Live later this week.
Bang, bang.
Right. And then also doing the lives. It is a very vulnerable experience to put yourself out there to be live.
Right.
Like in a video for whoever to see.
Forever and ever.
And exactly, like that is forever on the internet.
Yeah.
I can't mess it up. And if
Yeah.
I do, it's on there.
Right.
Also being part of the wellness group with Daryl and the other women. Every week we have a coaching call with Daryl. So it's one-on-one talking about challenges, successes, how can we improve on stuff, different things to work on. So Daryl has been very helpful too in helping me challenge that critic, along with all the other things I mentioned.
Gotcha. Okay. Dope. See here. What's another good one here? Don't want to do that one. Don't want to do that one. Okay, these are a pretty good one here. This one is a personal quote because I like to quote myself because I have a bunch of books of quotes because I like a good quote because it can kind of focus you and center you. So this one says that when we talk, we want to be heard, but when we listen, we want to understand. So I thought that's a good one, and I like that one because I do listen to understand, generally speaking. So either one of you, of course, or collectively, when you want to be heard on an important topic, what is the biggest obstacle for you to overcome, or what was the biggest obstacle for you to overcome as a child and now as an adult? When you want to be heard on a very important topic, if you're not being heard.
Interesting. As a child, I don't think I had a need to be heard as a child, which is interesting. I don't think I don't really think I needed to be heard as long as my needs were taken care of.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that was probably most important for me.
Yeah.
So I think as a youth, I think I didn't have that desire. I wasn't trying to be a leader or whatever. As a youth, I was just trying to play football and play Nintendo. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think now, I don't think there is an obstacle now.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I think you got to be a bull. You know what I'm saying? If you got something that you need that needs to be said, you have to say it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's finding the right platform for whoever, but I mean, if something I think is important, I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? 100%. Or if it doesn't need to be said, it won't be said.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ty.
As a kid, I was very shy, very timid, and all I want to do is just go outside and play, ride my bike, do that. So I don't really think I also needed to be heard or had a voice. Though my brothers did tease me excessively, but
Great guys.
But I would say something to mom, and then she would fix it, But actually, in my teenage to young adult years, I felt like I had trouble expressing my voice, and I think it was because I'm the youngest of 5.
Okay.
My older siblings, I felt like I was playing a role that I'm just gonna sit here and do what they want me to do.
Right.
And I mean, it took a lot of reflection, internal self-reflection, as well as even just growing up, find different experiences where I could say what I needed to say.
Right.
And even if I said it with like a little fear in my voice, I had to say it.
Right.
I also love quotes, and there is a quote about I don't know who says it, but it's speak even if your voice shakes.
Yeah.
And I love that quote, and that for a while I would resort to that if I had something difficult to say, especially early on in my counseling career. Even if it was difficult, I had to say it.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I can say most things, even if I don't want to say it, and I know I have to. It's like, all right, what is a way that I can share this that they know it's not me attacking them,
right? But
it's strictly, here's the fact, and again, those beautiful I statements.
Yeah.
It's all about speaking your truth.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But finding that thin line between speaking your truth and speaking when it doesn't need to be said. Right.
Yes.
Very, very fine lesson I learned from a pimp that said if you say it with confidence, she will do it. If you say it with confidence.
Wow.
And I said, well, that's pretty interesting. He said, if you don't have confidence, you don't believe you, why should she?
The notorious Pimp and Kim?
Right. I don't know who. One of the many pimps who's probably in jail.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Right. For pimpery.
It sounds like something a friend of mine would say.
Are they a pimp?
I think he tries to be.
My friend the pimp.
Love you.
All right. So we have come down to the final question on today's episode of Some Roses Are Red.
Final Jeopardy.
Final question here. Let's see. Our final question. There we go. For either one, individually or collectively, when a miscommunication does occur, how much responsibility do you take personally in making sure clarity is achieved between both parties, if you feel that responsibility should be taken on your part at all?
There's nothing wrong with saying my bad. You know, nothing. Yeah. Nobody has ever lost anything from saying my bad.
Except for Kevin Hart.
Yeah. He lost. He had the Oscars. That's true. Yeah. So no, I think that me and Ty deal with this oftentimes, because like I might have said something a week ago and she didn't know I said it, or I didn't say it, but I thought I said it. Right. You know what I'm saying? And like we just, I do it and she does it too.
Right.
More so her. You know?
Of course. Thank you, honey.
Yes,
right.
But we realize we gotta be like, you know what? My bad. You know, I should have said something else, or my bad. We often have gotten on the circular thing. we hate when we do this. Yeah. Well, why didn't you tell me? Well, why didn't you ask?
There are so many times I say this to Joe'Mar, like little things that happen with the kids. Yeah. Oh, you never told me. We never asked. How do I know I need to ask the question?
That specific question.
I don't know.
Never just unless you tell me.
Gosh.
Oh
no, but long story short, I think you if you're communicating, it's partly your responsibility to make sure that person understands.
Yes,
and we don't do that often.
Right.
And we isn't him. We isn't him.
And I think people. I'm just going to say people in general don't do that. You know what I'm saying? People just talk and they expect you to understand. They expect you to know what they're saying. And there's check for understanding. People don't do that enough.
I agree.
So I think we need to start. I think that's probably a big thing. Is if more people would check for understand, then they would be okay. And then taking that responsibility if the person doesn't understand and be like I said, nothing has ever been lost except for Kevin Hart by saying my bad. Yeah,
and I think that I was gonna. It's a wider topic, so I won't go too far on it. I think that unfortunately, there's lots of debates and topics on the cancel culture, which is what they say is going on now, where you just cancel people and close them out. I think it was an interview that I read from Trevor Noah that was talking about apartheid, and he said the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa was one that dealt with the issues of apartheid, the after effect. And what made that possible is that the government of South Africa spoke to the citizens of South Africa who were under the apartheid regime, and they had to come before the people, the soldiers and the people who carried out the orders. They had to come before the people and tell exactly what their part of it was. And the people would then either accept them or reject them. Most times they would accept them. But he said that in America, in regard to race, there was never any confession time. There was never, we are guilty of doing these things. We did all these things. And I think that it's interesting in a cancel culture that we not only don't want to hear people say what they've done, but we just want to throw them away. And I was telling Valencia, unless we're prepared to put a bullet in the back of somebody's head, we have to deal with them in some manner. So we can't just throw them away. They're not disposable people. Who are we to say that the whole of this person is now invalid and now corrupt? They live. We gotta interact with them. So I think we have to find a better way to do that. So that's my soapbox. I'll step down now.
I mean, but in saying that, you're choosing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, and not a lot of people want to be vulnerable because being vulnerable is vulnerable.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, and the times where, bringing it back to Joe'Mar and myself, and the times that we have miscommunicated, and I didn't want to necessarily say my bad because I'm like, I want to be right. But in reality, it's not about right or wrong. Right. It's about us.
Oh yeah.
And that's what allows me to say, you know what, I apologize for what I did in this, or, you know, I miscommunicated something. This is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dope. So I have reached the final question in the long process of communication, in a manner of speaking, our subtext here, with Joe'Mar and Tai here. And I did bring up two pieces of the bio information. Joe'Mar partially talked about it and Tai partially talked about it, that I found was very interesting. So if you don't mind, as we close out here, Joe'Mar, as a Common Bond Communities Wisconsin market leader, what does Common Bond do? I'm familiar with it a little bit, actually a lot, but I want the people to know, what does Common Bond do? And if you would, what is your part in that?
Yeah, so we have a very unique business model. We are actually a developer of affordable housing, so multifamily affordable housing for folks who make certain income points, mostly for those who fall between 30, 50, 60% of area median income. So those who kind of the market is leaving behind right now.
Right.
And what really sets us apart is that we are a nonprofit. So we not only just build the homes for you. Yeah. And these are not apartments; these are your homes. So we build the homes for you. Well, excuse me, they are apartments, but we want them to be your homes.
Gotcha.
So we provide us kind of a suite of wraparound services for the residents as well too, because we know we don't just want to put you there. We want to make sure you're successful,
right?
And being able to meet your goals and your needs for you and your family as you move forward. So we have programs for educational attainment for youth and for adults, financial literacy, health and wellness opportunities, opportunities for community building and strengthening. And number one, we just want to keep you stable and secure in your home. So anything we can do when it comes to eviction prevention or bringing in additional resources to help you as well too. That's our business model. We've been around for a while. I'm the market leader for Wisconsin, so I oversee all of our operations in Wisconsin, our strategy, and kind of what we move forward with here in the region. And we're growing. I'm very proud of the work we do, and it's been great.
Okay. So if you want to hear more from Joe'Mar in regard to Common Bond Communities Wisconsin, you can go to their Facebook page. That's Common Bond Communities Wisconsin, where Joe'Mar Hooper is the market leader, and great program. You should definitely look into it. If you've heard anything here that's piqued your interest, definitely check them out here. And Tai, I did on the most recent post, you spoke about your postgraduate course at UWM for infant mental health, and I know that you are a very, very, very big advocate for mental health. Yes. So tell us more about that class and what you do on your day-to-day.
Yes, that class is a year-long program, I should say, for an infant mental health postgraduate fellow. Okay. It sounds really fancy. And I guess it is really fancy. There's not too many individuals in the state that have done it. Yeah. But it's looking at the range of what infant mental health is. And people, when they hear those words, they think infants have mental health. Everyone has mental health. If we have physical health, spiritual health, mental health is part of it, emotional health. Yeah. So it's looking at caregiver relationships and bonding with their children, anywhere from assessments to interventions and everywhere in between. Yeah. And that program is about a year long, once a month in Madison for 3 consecutive days. There's classes, and we have speakers come in. Actually, some of the people, the assessments we're learning from are instructors and professors, people we're learning other things from. They invented it or they started it. Wow. So it's big deal, very big deal. Very, very excited to be part of that group.
That's pretty cool.
What do you do your day-to-day?
Yes.
And my day-to-day.
Your day-to-day.
Thank you. Bang, bang. I am the mental health coordinator for Oscillero Learning Wisconsin, which is a early Head Start and Head Start national provider. There's Oscillero in 3 or 4 other states, and I'm actually the only full-time mental health coordinator. Wow. And Wisconsin, we started that here, which is pretty cool. There are mental health coordinators for other Head Start programs. I'm just the first for Oscillero. But I support the mental health efforts of children, family, and staff for 13 locations between Milwaukee, Cudahy, and Racine. Okay. So every day is a brand new day. Okay. A lot of travel, but I do enjoy my job. Connecting with the staff, connecting with the parents, and just educating people about mental wellness. Right.
See, that's dope. You're good people, of course. And if you've been paying attention to Some Roses Are Red, we have Daryl on there for your physical health, Joe'Mar for your living space health, which is mental health, and Tai for mental health at all. So if you follow a theme here with Some Roses Are Red, we are encouraging you to be well, the fullness of wellness, your wellness in your spirit, your wellness in your physical body, your wellness in your mental health, which is key, because if your mental health is not key, you're going to be a little bit off kilter trying to do everything else. It's going to be difficult. And according to, I forget the guy's name, the hierarchy of needs. If you don't have a place to live, Maslow, there you go. If you don't have a place to live, it's going to be difficult for you to think about anything else, especially on days when it's negative 20. That's a hard press to tell me you need to get a job if I don't have a house. So
exactly,
that's a tough one. But I thank Joe'Mar Tai again for, as I said before, for being a part of my little push here to give a voice to my thoughts and my feelings, and interviewing interesting people. Thank you guys for giving me time of your busy schedules, for stopping by Some Roses Are Red, for being positive beacons of light in and of yourselves, and apart from how I know you, but just as individuals, which is fantastic and dope, man. So I'll give you the floor for final words if you want.
Well, thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to come talk. Man. You know, we love you to death, and we are excited to be up here and just be able to share a little bit with you. And we encourage all the listeners to share your thoughts about Ricky in the comments.
Yes. And I will be head hunting for TR, you said?
Oh, yes, TR.
Yes.
Again, we love you, TR.
Bang, bang. And also Ashley from Public Allies Now. Yeah, her too. Yeah. So, yes. Tai, closing?
Thank you. Thank you for trusting us.
Oh, yeah.
For doing this. And I guess I'm going to say thank you to my husband for being my husband.
Oh,
look at this.
Bang, Valentine's Day is coming up. Oh, wow. All right, everybody, that's been our episode of Some Roses Are Red. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Next time on Some Roses Are Red. Hi, this is John for Some Roses Are Red. Every first and third Monday of the month from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., we're live on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Join us as we explore a new topic each show, and feel free to chat with us live on either platform as we explore the many facets of interpersonal relationships and how to navigate those interactions while keeping those relationships intact. Again, at Some Roses Are Red Live every first and third Monday at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Hope we talk to you soon.
79.7